Hello, I have the amazing, incredible Chris Fagnant here, and probably said it wrong still. Um, so, with business broker with the FBB Group. So, Chris, why don't you do a little bit better job introducing yourself than I just did, and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. We are business brokers, M&A advisors, business intermediaries. We kind of go by a number of different of titles in that regard. But as a licensed broker in Colorado, the business broker makes sense. So we work with business owners to plan for and execute successful exits of their business, and typically on the sell side. So for the most part, our clients are the sellers of the business. From time to time, there are certain circumstances we've had, buy side clients in the past as well. Just typically the seller is who we're working with directly.
Very cool. And I know, like, if you have a business, someone, at some point you've probably thought about selling your business, how that would work. So today we get to talk about that a little bit. But Chris, tell us something about you that people won't find on your LinkedIn or your resume.
Something that's not going to show up on the LinkedIn, or maybe tangentially it shows up just because I'm from Chicago. But I'm a season ticket holder of the Chicago Cubs, even though I live in Colorado full time. And I only get back to Chicago 2 or 3 times during the baseball season. But it's one of those situations where the opportunity arose, and I'd been on the waiting list for 18 years, and so I decided to go ahead and buy those seats.
Okay, so if anyone wants to get on your good side, anything.
Well, that, or if you're going to Chicago, let me know, and you can use my seats if you're going to be in town during a game. I encourage people to go there and put the seats to good use. And all I ask is that you send me a picture from the seats.
Oh, super fun. I love it. Cool. So if you've tuned in before, we like to talk about differentiation. And it's really how you set yourself apart from your competitors and really kind of highlight why you're so good. So the way I like to describe it is like a triangle. So the first side is, as your company, what do you do that's amazing, great, unique to you, or at least you feel like it is. And then the other side is what your customers or clients like about you, what they say about you, what they think about you. And then bringing it together is what your competitors are not doing. So, what's inside of this is what is your differentiation? So, tell me, Chris, like at the FBB Group, what do you guys do that's really good, unique? How do you
Sure.
do it? Mhm.
Certainly, one of the most unique features of the firm is we're 43 years old. It was founded in 1982. The founder sold the firm just over 3 years ago to Rob Amrine, the current president and owner, and that was all part of a 10-year succession plan that was executed very in line with what we preach, and so that experience in the Colorado market, but the mountain region more generally, really goes a long way. Over 1,000 deals that have been closed in 43 years, and with that, you draw on the ability to go back into documentation, into marketing, and the things that worked and didn't, and be able to share that with clients goes a long way. And then also kind of embedded in that history is process. So we have strict processes that we follow to protect our clients' information. So we're always dealing in confidential information. And the joke with my wife and my friends is that it's like being friends with or married to a CIA agent, because I can never tell anybody what it is, who my clients are, what they really do, without being totally general about it. But that is something we take very seriously, is to make sure that we're not letting people know without having signed confidentiality agreements. Who that client is, what they're working on, what the business is, because obviously if a business is for sale, that information might negatively affect the business, employees, customers, vendors, things like that.
Yeah. And then you also are really big on promote or, asking people to come talk to you before they're ready to sell too.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say for us, that's the top of the pyramid that you were talking about.
Okay, we'll wait on that one.
Well, yeah, no, but to kind of make that connection, one of the other areas of what what are we doing that's unique, and firm wise, there's that history, there's that process that's in place, but one of the main reasons I wanted to join FBB after selling my company is because I come from a world of process, a manufacturing background, and so it all makes sense to me. It was very much in line with what I'm comfortable with and used to doing anyhow. The my manufacturing background is really where I tend to focus my energy. And so within the firm, we have other brokers who are have experience in different areas. So if a business comes to me, for example, and it's not really a fit for me, but it is a great fit for Rob or Anthony or Chelsea, we'll refer that internally to somebody else. And similarly, if it's industrial manufacturing, everybody in the firm knows that that's my background, and probably where I have the most to offer, the most value. I will happily step in and work with those clients.
Very cool. So what do your clients say about you guys?
It's funny you bring that up because we've had this conversation across. There's been a handful of examples just recently in the last couple of weeks, and I've never worked for another business brokerage, so I don't know any different. But I'm hearing it from the outside is that we put a lot of time and effort into building what's referred to in the M&A world as the CIM, the CIM, Confidential Information Memorandum, and that is the presentation of who the business is. This is what we do. This is where we're at. These are our clients. This is the employees. Kind of going through all this information, but then also the financial disclosure. And so the one thing that I've heard, and then some of the other brokers in our firm have had this relayed to them, is apparently that's not uniform across the industry, that the tax returns, financial statements aren't well laid out by year and with, complete information so that buyers can, quickly, get to addressing the valuation that we put together. So that just, again, it's come up in my, in conversation personally with buyers. I had a buyer tell me just 2 weeks ago, hey, I had a deal fall through because, it turns out the actual financials are different than what they had told us. So, when we look at that, can you make sure that all the financials are in there? And my response was, well, yeah, they're already in there. You already have access to them. That's an expectation. So, so we tend to get a positive response from buyers when they get a chance to review the CIM.
Isn't it funny that sometimes the things that we think are the least important, because of course I'm doing that. It's so important to your customers. So, and that's always happens, but it's huge.
Yeah, it falls into that category of being respectful of people's time, I think, right? It's common, kind of trope, if you will, is time is the killer of all deals. And if you let enough time go by without a response, or you let enough time go by trying to gather information that could have been had already and presented, you just lessen the likelihood that you're going to actually make it to closing successfully. So that's part of it, is the fact that we've experienced in the past. This is what needs to be done to improve our chances of success. And part of it is following our own processes and just setting an expectation.
So you're not just doing it for transparency or because it's good, decent information to have, but because it's really actually going to help you close deals faster.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's we're we're increasing the chances that a buyer is going to be able to move quickly because we've given them the information that they would otherwise have to ask, 2 or 3 or 4 different times to kind of one by one gather, here's the full picture. There's always information that there's always questions that one buyer is going to ask that another didn't. And we try and be as prepared as we can to answer quickly to those. But like I said, the feedback that we've gotten from the outside has been very positive as a differentiator for our firm, the quality of the sim.
I love it. Yes. Yeah. Well, and with 43 years of experience, you probably have some knowledge in what people want to know, right?
Yeah.
Set you up for success. Okay. So tell me more about what your competitors are not doing. I know we touched on it already, but
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you brought it up, and I kind of mentioned it in the intro. In the transition of from the original owner to the new owner, from Ron Chernak, who founded the firm, to Rob Amorine, who is the current owner and president. Rob, over the last 12 years, recognized a need for connecting the dots for those folks who aren't really ready to sell, but come to us thinking they're ready to sell. And rather than kind of sending them back out into the world and saying, well, you're not really ready, here's some feedback, but you figure it out, come back to us in a couple of years and we'll be ready to, we'll help you go to market. Rob put together a structured product basically that we can offer the market as consultants to help business owners prepare for the exit by analyzing and addressing the sellability of the business. So the characteristics that de-risk the business from the buyer's perspective, that they increase the multiple that they're going to earn, which shorthand for increase that valuation, right? The increase the multiple on either the seller's discretionary earnings or the EBITDA calculation. And so that sellability process can be done 2 years or 10 years ahead of somebody wanting to sell. And we like to have that conversation with people because death and taxes, right? There are certain things that will happen. You will exit your business whether you plan for it or not. You can exit by selling it, right? You can exit by closing it down. You can exit because unfortunately you're no longer with us. Whatever the circumstance, if you've prepared for it, you yourself can exit in a way that aligns with your retirement plans or what you want to do next. But also you can exit in a way where you're setting up your dependents, whomever it might be that would inherit that asset in the event that it happened unexpectedly, so that they're not left with a problem, they're left with a solution, and all the pieces are in place to be able to transition that business ownership quickly rather than over the course of 2 years or have it shut down completely because it can't be run without the owner. So all of that, the reason we do that is in some cases it's a bit of an insurance policy, but in most cases it's the better you understand what the valuation is today and the things that are going to influence it, the better you can use that information to make decisions to positively impact that valuation over time.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said before, everyone is thinking about it or has thought about it or hopes that it's going to be 20 times more than it is. But, like I'm sure, Chris, you could probably talk to some people and help them understand where that might be. But having some plans in place and having some good marketing in place helps too. But, like that's what you guys do. So that's really cool. So tell us what is going on coming down the pipeline, or should we be paying attention to what's coming down the pipeline with FBB here soon?
Well, along the lines of Rob, the ownership transition and what he's doing with the firm, there's a focus on really technology forward. Nothing against Ron and everything he did. There was a ton of fantastic processes that still exist today, but digitizing those, right? Moving more towards, in your world, digital marketing to reach people where they're at. and that sort of thing. And as we build out that strategic sellability planning, it's opening us up to conversations in different arenas. We're careful not to compete with exit planners. I'm not an exit planner, and I'm not advising people on their financial planning personally. We're in our lane of addressing the sellability of the business, recognizing that in most business owners' cases, the business is the majority of their net worth, and so the goal there is to continue to align ourselves with other, circle of influence where we can kind of get that message out to say, hey, talk to us well in advance. We're happy to have this conversation, even just to build the relationship, whether you decide to work with us in a consulting capacity or not. There's some feedback we can provide and guidance we can provide to ensure that business owners aren't caught off guard when they do finally have that conversation about selling.
Yeah. So don't wait until you've decided it has to go.
Yeah. What I say is don't wait until you hate your customers and your employees hate you, and you wanted to be out yesterday, and do it while you still love what you're doing. Do it while the trends are up. Have that conversation. It seems odd, but when your business is generating a lot of cash, it's kind of a hard decision to make to walk away from, but that's likely the point at which the valuation is going to be the highest. So you don't want to wait till it, tables off or starts going the other direction.
Yeah. Makes a ton of sense. Okay. Well, thanks, Chris. How can people get a hold of you if, say, they want to have a conversation?
Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm on there, and I'm not as good at seeing that like the day of the message as I'd like to be, but email is probably the easiest thing, chris@fbb.com. And then if we connect via introductions or whatever else, my cell phone is right on my email signature. So that's definitely the best way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you for tuning in, everyone. And thank you, Chris, for your time and talking about the sellability of people's companies and how you guys do it differently and better, right?
Yeah.